I have come to explain to you something. Well, what am I going to explain? Let's take a look. As I open my book, The Four Noble Truths Explained by Buddhism, which is me, of course. And I am going to explain to you, well, next I'm just going to tell you a quick story. There's a note under the title which kind of explains it, hopefully well enough. This poem is called Again, written for James Levin's Priscilla Poetry Event, May 2019. The rule, in order to be accepted into this event, is that you had to write a poem about a childhood memory. Okay, here it is. Again, I took a shortcut off the sidewalk onto the grass, which became bare earth with gravel, then some ground up granites. Should I cut through the canyon pass? Yeah, I hopped into the natural, the indigenous chaparral, Southern California black sage, and lots of wild rosemary. That's why I don't season food with rosemary at all. The sage I season food with is different from what I'd wear. Sometimes my Levi's smelled like licorice with some sand in my underwear. Back to that walk off the side of the road. If I'd be a kid again, I'd be hunting for a lizard or a big ugly toad as I looked down at the California bare ground, making dust beneath my feet. I wanted to be there. Be back where? I'd hike alone as a kid, outside San Diego City. I was raised on the county limits. Canyons stretched to the horizon. S Mountain, with a white gravel letter S for San Diego State, was my adventurous limit through the canyons in a northerly direction. This was my chaparral with all the creatures in it. Yeah, that was my playground. I almost befriended the curious coyotes. They'd follow me on the other side of the creek. I collected salamanders, snakes, lizards, and toads. I was Indiana Jones after school, 5 days a week. I hung out after they closed at the San Diego Zoo. Some of my reptile freeloaders outgrew my backyard menagerie. When my iguanas ate Mom's chrysanthemums, they were through. My 7-foot green iguana was traded by the San Diego Zoo for a Hamburg, Germany chimpanzee. She kept beating up the other iguanas behind the outdoor iguana moat, they later told me. Yes, I was back there, right then. I was in identical surroundings, like my childhood, again. The coyotes reappeared alongside me, in my mind. The canyon smells invigorated those ancient memories I'd left behind. It was wonderful. Put a smile on me. A cheap thrill. A kind of warming bliss. But like any faded memory, it's not as good as the actual kiss. So I wondered how hard it'd be to have a backyard like this, naturally. Recreate the canyon with rosemary and sage. Do I just claim a chunk of canyon property? If I import the dirt and recreate it, is it an environment or a stage? Maybe I'll buy rural. I'll buy a farm with canyons on the land. It'll be my canyon backyard pastoral. I'll be walking back there like a child again. I'll capture some lizards like then again. I might even hunt rabbits with my bow and arrows again. I'll walk the paths. Ah, man, no ticks. I hope not that again. Enjoying the canyon interactions and quail. Sailing by again. Being alive climbing rocks, build campfires again. Sleep in my sleeping bag, nestled under the moonlit sagebrush again. But does that mean I'll probably get bitten by a rattlesnake again? All right, there you go. And once again, as I was alluding to earlier, sometimes when we want what we had in the past, it might include some things we don't want. Okay? So, but the MAGA people can't fathom that. They can't even pick a year to go back to. But maybe Reagan, when he was busting the air traffic controllers union or something. Maybe that's their great year again. Okay, yeah, it all started, the downhill of America really started with Trump. The hippies we were born out of the success of America. Haven't had that kind of success since then, where a single parent can, afford to support the whole family. So moms could stay home and educate us and cook all our meals. Okay, yeah, but that was the world I grew up in. I think that within my neighborhood, within at least a 1 block radius, there might have only been 2 women who had a job of all the houses, in that radius. Only 2 women had a job. Otherwise, they all stayed home all day. Must have been horrible, huh? Okay, I was being facetious. I don't like being facetious. I don't like saying the opposite of what I mean. Okay. There's probably a more positive way to say that. I admire women for giving up sitting by the pool with their martinis and living so luxuriously when they could be out there working with their husbands or like their husbands. Maybe a little cynicism in there. All right. See you guys again